Okay, let's update. It's been a while, but things are moving a little slowly recently. We have some changes that we need made to various pieces of software, namely Dorico, Sibelius, and MuseScore. And this is nothing new. So most of what we've had to do with these three pieces of software is related to the connection to the music itself. So loading the music that's in the score, exporting, importing, that kind of stuff. But in the case of MuseScore, none of that is a problem. It's the synchronization because the current version of MuseScore does not report the playhead position. I don't think is going to be a problem much longer. We've created a pull request with MuseScore, the source code itself, and we're talking with their developers about the schedule for getting that in the release cycle. And we have a couple of unanswered questions from the Sibelius team, which we're hoping to get answered this week. And they're kind of about the same thing about synchronization. It's a little easier to get the score data in Sibelius. And then Dorico, yeah, they've had our request for over a week, and we don't really have any inside information about their release schedule. So we do know that they have all the information that we need about what we're hoping to get from Dorico, and so far it looks like that's going to happen. And we just have to wait to discover what their schedule is. Okay, so since everything is kind of in a holding pattern, rather than just sit on it and wait, I've decided to bring back the web renderer. And the web renderer, for those of you who don't know, was the first iteration of Cantai. It was actually going to be the only iteration. I originally had not intended to make a VST. It was going to be simply upload your file and get back rendered files. And it was working for a little while, but it wasn't performing well, and it had some glitches and some problems and things. And so when I started working on the VST, I kind of took the web renderer offline, and that's actually been offline for a few months. But anyway, it's coming back, and the setup is going to be simply export MIDI or music XML from your app. It can be any app, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as there are vocals attached. And then Cantai will scan your file. It will use a large language model that we just deployed. That's part of the news. It will use a large language model to parse your lyrics into phonemes. It's going to be English in the beginning, but only for just a little while, because that's just the foundation of most of the early software that was made for the web renderer. But long story short, you put your MIDI file, you upload your MIDI file, and it's going to parse the lyrics. Eventually, it won't matter what the lyrics are, what format the lyrics are in. Some character sets are not supported. So Chinese and Japanese, it's going to have to be a little bit different. Most likely we'll just use music XML. And yeah, so it's just a matter of getting the characters in there, because I'm trying to do everything I can possibly do to avoid any kind of editor at all, any kind of note editor or phoneme editor or text editor. I don't want any of that going on. So in the case of, say, pronunciation, the LLM is actually very good at determining how to pronounce words. And it is able to put words in context in your lyrics and determine how they're pronounced. So the word read and the word read, spelled the same, pronounced differently depending on the context, and it's very good at figuring out context. But just in case you have another word or whatever situation where you want to pronounce a syllable a different way, all you have to do is type the syllable in all uppercase, re-render once, and then that's it. It'll pronounce it the new way. And you just type in, your so in the case of read and read, you would type in REED if you wanted it to be read in uppercase. And then after the render, you change it back to what it was originally, and Cantai will remember it. That feature may also be a little bit delayed, but that's the way it's going to work. So it's not going to be terribly complicated. And that does mean there's an extra step, but I mean, no matter what you do when you're dealing with an external synth rendering on the web, you're going to have to do multiple exports anyway. But the result is, I think, worth the issue. And of course, when the VST comes along, those of you who have Sibelius, MuseScore, or Dorico will probably switch over to that. And that brings me to the next bit of news. Those of you who have lifetime licenses, that covers the web renderer. It covers the VST, all versions of the VST. So if you are one of those people who uses more than one Dorico and Sibelius or whatever, then that's fine. I really don't care where you install it. You buy Cantai, you own it. And so that's for the lifetime licenses. The sale of the lifetime licenses is finished as of yesterday, and I apologize for the confusion about the date, but it is going to be going back on sale once the web renderer is up, hopefully this week. And the new scheme is going to be the full price for the lifetime membership, which is $250. That gets you all the updates. So eventually, when we do switch to the locally running synthesizer, that means that your update will include that. And we're also going to have monthly subscriptions. And it looks like the prices that I've come up with are going to be probably okay. $9 a month for solo voice rendering only, meaning each single line is going to be just a single vocal line. It's not going to, you won't have access to the choral rendering. And then $19 a month for the choral renderer, and that's US dollars. So you'll have to do the conversion based on where you are. And that'll all go through Stripe. And so I think that's about it. Oh yeah, I am going to do something that I have seen a lot, which can be handy, is if you pay for a year in advance, we will lower the rate from 9 and 19 to probably something more like, I don't know, 7 and 15, something like that. It'll be a deal anyway. And that is that. I don't have any other updates for now, and I will post additional information. Oh, no, I do have another update. One more update. We now have approximately 10 new applicants to the virtual choir. And this is the classical choir. There are several Cantai choirs. There's the operatic chorus. There's the classical choir. There is there's going to be a gospel choir. There's going to be a children's choir, and so on and so on. So the new members that have shown up in the last week via emailed applications, there are about 10 total now. And almost all of them, almost all of you, those of you who are part of this, have your contracts. And it's just a question of, as soon as you send me the contract signed and I give you your signed copy, then you need to make a recording. And I was going to make a video about that, but it's a little early yet. But suffice to say that if you have a phone or an iPad or something like that, that'll be plenty for recording. The requirements are very different for choral recording than they are for solo recording. And that brings me to another thing that came up recently, and I'll put this on the FAQ afterwards. The contracts. One of the applicants to the for the solo singers asked what was going to happen to the voice samples if we decide, or if the user, excuse me, let me start again. What happens to the voice samples, the cloned voice of a singer, if they or we decide to not continue with their contract and there's a permanent version out there? Well, what we're going to do is come up with a revised contract that specifies, yes, I authorize my voice to be used for this extended section, this extended use, or no, I don't. And we'll work through the details. I think we're still many months away from having a standalone version. Unfortunately, it's just a very complex thing, but we will address it when it comes up. So that, because right now the way it is, the contracts are renewed on a yearly basis, and if a singer or us decide that it's not in both of our interests to continue the contract, then there's no obligation to renew it. And we'll look at amending it for the locally running one as well. And I think that's it. So if you have any other questions, go to the contact page on the website, cantai.app, and go to the Discord and sign up and ask all the questions you got. It helps me to know what you guys are thinking, and I'm hopefully I'm able to communicate well enough so that you guys know what I'm thinking. And yeah, that's where we are. And I look forward to the next update. Ciao.